The greedy grabby horde are a sinful bunch, so driving one of their commandeered carts isn't going to be a prob for a clever clog like you. You just need to be shown the basics, and you'll be away faster than a cowpat off a hot, shiny shovel. Quick tour of the controller would be good. Oh, would you prefer to use the X button or the R2 button to accelerate? Okay, the basics. Press the acceleration button and your cart will move forward. Keep it down if you want to burn wool. You can achieve some pretty exhilarating speeds in this game, so let go of the button if you want to slow down for a corner or stop altogether. The brake button will stop you even quicker if you need a loo brake. Once you've stopped, keep that brake button held down if you want to reverse. Steering is done by pushing the left stick left or right, or you can use the directional buttons. Well, if you're happy with the ergonomic comfort of your controller layout, just give the old action button a Sammy stab, and it's all confirmed. Excellent! You've picked your preferred controller buttons, and we can continue. And if you want to go back and alter them at any stage, feel free to do so in the Pause menu, or the Settings menu in your pod. You have to feel 100% comfortable when you're wacky racing. Am I not right, sir? In karting lingo, drifting means taking a corner in a really cool way. It's skidding, but controlled skidding, and saves all the hassle of braking. To drift, steer the way you want to go in a corner whilst pressing and holding the drift button. The kart turns to the side and skids in a visually pleasing manner, I might add. It's advisable to hold your drift until your tyres ignite. That's a good time to release the drift button and get a satisfying boost. You get my drift? You see, that was a superb bit of drifting, both excellent and excellent. The boost you get is from the positive thinking molecules of the Imagisphere igniting in the drift backdraft. The bigger the flame, the bigger the boost. Now, who wants to know how to steer and drift at the same time? You're doing brilliantly with the drifting. Now to drift whilst steering your kart. So this time, press the drift button and steer with the left stick. Remember, DNS, drift and steer. Okay, let's try this drift and steer business again. Hold down the drift button whilst... Nailed it! You would. Now you're equipped with another string to your bow. Well, you passed your driving test with all the flying colours of the rainbow. Time to start your weapons training. No, we're not getting bogged down in the logistics of ballistics. We're simply going to show you how to blast suckers off the road. Behold the Weaponator. A serious bit of kit. Drive through it to pick it up. Then you can start collecting weapons. Each time you get one, Sackboy will be holding it, looking tougher than 9-year-old cheese and twice as dangerous. Oh, nicely collected there, number one. You are now furnished with the Weaponator. It dishes out weapons in what we call RR distribution. RR stands for really random. Press the weapon button to fire. 2 words, or some, like your style. Now, let's talk about how to make every shot count. Taking a hit will slow you down and make you lose slight control of your kart, so avoid it if you can. Now we're going to give you what we call a defensive weapon. Defensive weapons are slightly sneaky in that they can be deployed behind you to slow down other racers or destroy incoming weapons fire. If you watch for the incoming weapon icon, you'll see it changes into a shield. This is the exact time to press the weapon button and deploy your defensive weapon. When the icon shows a shield, the defensive weapon will fire backwards to intercept the barrage from the brutes behind. Tailgaters. Okay, next time keep hold of that all-important weapon until you see the shield. Then fire. We're getting there. Now you're firing on all cylinders, you clever sack bombardier, you. Just remember, once you have a weapon, you can make use of it straight away or save it for a more dire situation. You can set the difficulty level of your game, you know. Normal is your bog-standard threat and hurdle setting and is nothing you can't handle. But if you're of a mind to Sunday drive with very little to do, set it to casual. You can always alter it later to rev up the fun. Congrats! In fact, what the heck? Congratulations. Have the full lot. You've learned so much in such a short time. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were an angel. And if you ever forget anything or you want a quick recap, get your sack tushy back here and we'll do the whole bally lot again. I would love that. Whether you want to perform the entire works of Billy Shakespeare through interpretive dance or just give a cheeky smile now and again, you need to know how to animate your sack boy. The directional buttons are your emotional coordinators, so let's have a faff with them, shall we? Press up to make him smile like he's just been given a box of chockies. Press down to make him sad as it's empty. Press left to make him scared as the box is ticking. Press right to make him angry as it was his own wristwatch he was hearing. Use the limb buttons and sticks to move his arms, and if you tilt the controller, his bonce will move about. There you have it, your very own sack puppet. Always warm your hands before operating him, though. A catastrophic conundrum. My cat Susan has firmly lodged herself up a tree and she's terrified of heights, and trees for that matter, and being rescued. How can we help her? Well, there are lots of useful tools we can utilize to enhance this hinged ladder, don't you know? Check on the simple logic shelf of your tools bag. Let's have a quick stock take, shall we, and decide how we can help Susan by using them together. Okay, a battery emits a constant on signal, which you can tweak the strength of by opening the tweak menu and adjusting the power. Let's connect the battery to the hinge before Susan has kittens. Not literally. The OR logic gate has two buttons attached and activates when any one of its inputs, or indeed all of them, are active. You can tweak any of the logic gates and increase the number of inputs if you like. Use either button to activate it. If we connect two buttons to the OR gate, driving on either one will raise the ladder up the tree. And what's next? Oh, right, the AND logic gate is next. AND is activated when all its inputs are triggered. Set it up like OR. If you attach both a button and a battery to the two inputs, you have to press the button to see the show, so to speak. Or we could use the XOR logic gate. The XOR is activated when any single one and only one of its inputs are activated. A bit like the light switches in your house. If you've paid the bill, that is. If we connect a battery and button to the XOR gate, the hinge will begin to raise the ladder. Press the button, however, and this will stop the hinge from rising because both connections are sending signals to the gate, not just one. And finally, the NOT logic gate. NOT has one input and one output, which are always the opposite of one another. If we connect a button to the NOT gate, the hinge will raise the gate and feline salvation is on its way. While the button isn't being pressed, an off signal is being sent to the NOT gate, which sends out the opposite signal on to the hinge. When the player presses the button sends an on signal to the NOT gate, which sends out an off signal to the hinge, stopping it from raising the ladder. But we don't want an inactive ladder because I'm not wasting that freshly opened tin of tuna-friendly tinned seal. I'm not eating it. Here, kitty kitty. By installing control points in your track, you can exert optimum control over your track's twisty-turny topography. To begin, select the Add or Remove Control Points tool from the poppet. This enables you to add or delete points along the track by using up and down with the left stick, then pressing the Add or Delete button. So, if you wanted to, I don't know, add a fiendish fork in the road, select the Branches tool in the Edit Track and Arena menu. Move along the track with the left stick. A helpful little flag appears, showing where the beginning of your branch will begin. If you're happy with the spot, press the Place Branch button. You can change which side of your track the branch starts at by pressing the Change Track Edge button, so it works for drivers from any country, even Italy. Once you've placed the start flag for your branch, move along the track to where you want your branch to rejoin the track. Press the Place Branch button again to create the second path. Now, breadcrumbs. No, we're not sticking them to the window to make the birds knock themselves out like my Susan does. These are a different type of breadcrumbs. These breadcrumbs create alternate paths along your track and are best used for small distances and tight curves where branches don't do much. A word to the wise. Only ever say nice things about sensors. They can't take criticism and are prone to hissy fits. They're very sensitive. Sensors are brilliant. We love sensors up here in Little Big Planet. They're so useful because if the conditions to which they are tweaked are met, they operate stuff. Wow! They live in the Gadgets page of the Tools bag in the Poppet, which is an amazingly cool place to be right now. Let's start off with the pressure sensor, which is a pretty darn fine bit of kit as it happens. It detects whether or not a cart is on top of it, like a button, and sends out a signal when pressed. To set it, open your Poppet and in the Object Tweaker section, choose Danger Tweaker. This will set an object on fire when you test drive, which is handy. Attach a button to the input of the Danger Tweaker and it will only fire up when the button is pressed. Not just fire, it can be tweaked to become visually pleasing illumination or plasma. Gas even. Fun with pyrotechnics. Just don't tell Mum. Careful though, when active, the object is dangerous. Don't drive into it. Let someone else do it and enjoy the show. How about making use of signal splitters and signal combiners? Maybe you want to add one to, I don't know, this Controlinator. The two signs have rotating motors. What possible use could a signal splitter have here, I hear you cry? Aha! Get a direction splitter from the Advanced Logic section of the Poppet. Note the two outputs. Connect one to each rotating motor, then connect a left-right output from the Controlinator to the input of the signal splitter. Now, just as simply as HP stands for Hey Presto, you can control both two motors at once. OK, another scenario for you. What if there's only one sign on a rotate motor? How could you best control that? A direction combiner. Again, it's in the Advanced Logic section. It takes two inputs and converts them to one output. So connect a button to each input on the direction combiner, then connect the output to the rotate motor. Tweak the motor and set the input action to forwards, backwards. Ding dong, the bells ring out, for the sign can now go in either direction. OK, maybe I'm getting a little too excited, but I really don't get out much these days. we're giving you LittleBigPlanet carte blanche to create your own track. Yup, a racecourse designed and kitted out by you. We shall begin this work of kart in a suitable creation crater on your moon. A selection of themes is available for your perusal, so open your poppet and select Create, Track and Arena with Andrew the Action button. Right, where to begin? Well, presumably a start line, so place one with Andy Action. Now this is the utterly brilliant cool bit. You create the track by driving. I know! I went giddy with excitement too. Hold down our mate Andy and lay down the route. Turn with the left stick to create some crazy corners. Need some hills and dips? No problemo. Adjust your angles using the right stick. And if your road making hits a snag or you want to undo something, don't just put a sign up saying danger and leave it for 6 months like the authorities on Earth would. Just press undo and it's gone. OK, when you're nearly finished with the track, hold down autocomplete and your Sackboy will tie up all the loose ends for you, like connecting it back to your start point, completing the circuit. There you go, your very own track. You certainly know how to look after your sack self. Let's push your gladiatorial skills to the limit in the Arena of Susan. I didn't want to say arena of combat or fighting or something too tough. Let's keep things nice, like my cat, Susan. To create your very own arena, go to your moon, select a suitably creative crater and press the Action button. Peruse the themes available and pick one that takes your fancy. In the level, open up the old poppet and select Create Track and Arena with the Action button. Select Create Arena and action that. Some interesting shapes available, so have a think, have a choose, have a press of the Action button. Spawn points are automatically installed so all the karts can make impressive entrances. Incidentally, if the border of your arena isn't quite right or is geometrically displeasing to you, alter it. Paint the border area by holding down the Action button and moving your brush where you want your changes to sit. Our old chum Donny Delete button is always there to take away any mistakes or bits you don't need. Accoutrements in the shape of weapon pickups, stickers, decorations or whatever else you think your arena needs can be added whenever you wish. In LittleBigPlanet Karting, we want you to choose your own on-screen readouts, your HUD as they call it, the heads-up display. Choose what you want to see on your virtual dashboard. Lap counter, countdown timer, speedometer, stuff like that is all very useful, but who doesn't love loads of whatnots and thingamies to look at? A petrol gauge, a treasure counter, an ammo gauge, health definer, where is that cat with my bacon sandwich, anything. Actually, not the cat bacon sandwich one. That was just me thinking aloud, brainstorming. For example, a groundhog scaring counter. Stay with me, I haven't gone mad. You might have constructed a divine garden populated with exquisite petunias, but groundhogs, those animals that keep repeating themselves, are nibbling away at them. You could tune the roar of your kart's engine to scare the blighters off, but will you get them all? Set up a HUD counter to tell you how many you've scared off. The tools bag really is an emporium of awe and wonder. You can find tweaker gadgets for so many things in there, it's eerie. There's even a HUD tweaker. Did you know that? Look under World Tweakers if you think I'm kidding. If you want to install a groundhog counter, you'll have need of a counter widget. Select one and you may place it wherever you wish. I've got one on my cat. Once you place the widget, you can open up its tweak menu and do what you please. Name it, change its colour, flip its orientation. Widget. I love that word. You'd call a wood pigeon widget. Widget the wood pigeon. So, what else can you do once a widget is in place? Well, you could select a HUD tweaker and place it on the player's spawn point. In the Tweak menu, choose which HUD widget you want to display. Then go mad and choose your groundhog tweaker. Go for it. I suppose the next logical choice of action would be to hook up your HUD tweaker to this receiver. Why? Well, if you do, when you drive near the groundhogs, your counter will go up. You see, who'd have thought that would be a useful tool? Probably only me, but a useful tool nonetheless. All like to make and do, and you can't get any more makier or doier than in LittleBigPlanet. We call the things we create custom objects, and materials are the solidified primordial soup they are made from. You collect materials as you gad about the Imagisphere, and they're automatically saved in your goodies bag. Open your poppet and go to the materials page. OK. Choose a material and then select a shape that takes your fancy. Susan likes circles. She's a well-rounded sort of cat. I like squares. Wonder what that says about me. Once you've chosen a shape, your custom object to be will appear, along with a handy grid for reference. To rescale the shape, use the directional buttons. They also rotate it, so you can get a good look at it to ensure it's just so. You draw by holding down the action button and moving the left stick. The back button allows you to choose a different-sized brush, whilst the delete button is the tool to make holes or chip away bits you're not fond of. If you click down the left stick and hold it there, then press the thickness button, it will increase the thickness. But couple old lefty with the thinness button, and you can make it thinner. If only waistlines were so user-friendly. Now, if you're one of those perfectionist types, like a certain cat who shall remain nameless, that turns her nose up at the dish if it's placed down at not quite the correct angle, then we have the Snap mode. Snap mode is in the Pause menu and is capable of moving, rotating and scaling your custom object by a predetermined scale that you can set. You don't want to draw your objects too big. There's only so much space in a level after all, so less is more. You can scale and adjust it however you like once you've committed the shape, though. That's a given. Once you're happy, press the back button to return to your poppet. If in the future you fancy further tweaking, highlight the object with the poppet cursor and press the Tweak button for the tweak menus. The golden rule in LittleBigPlanet is dynamic means you can move it, static means you can't. I didn't say it was a particularly catchy golden rule. In a Custom Objects Tweak menu, you can re-edit the shape as well as set it to either dynamic or static. And custom objects have a power input located right at their center. This is quite handy, as you can use this to change the color of an object by setting its on and off colors. You can set brightness too, and animation speed, if your material happens to be animated, of course. LittleBigPlanet karts come with a dazzling array of semi-harmless weaponry as standard. But did you know you can turn just about any object you come across into a weapon too? The sillier the better, as this is LittleBigPlanet and fun and frolics are much in evidence. How about a heat-seeking monkey weapon? A heat-seeking monkey with a rainbow coming out of its bottom. Oh, imagine that in your arsenal. To make one, simply put a weaponizer on a monkey and save it to My Objects. Next, load the monkey into a weapon pickup and it's primed for action. There's 4 different weaponizers to make use of, so just let your imagination go loopy-loo, why don't you? Ordinarily, I leave the decorating to Susan, although she's never quite 100% happy with the outcome, but that's pernickety cats for you. In Little Big Planet, everyone will want to exercise their own exquisite taste in decor, because it's all done in 3D. Select stickers and decorations with the Action button in your poppet. Peruse the wonderful stickers on offer with the directional buttons, or left stick if that's more comfortable. Use the L1 and R1 buttons to browse different pages, because on the second page are the decorations. Makes you want to put one hand on your hip, one over your mouth, and gasp the words, "Oh, my giddy aunt, that is gorge," doesn't it? Me too. Select one with the Action button and place it in your level. The perfection doesn't end there. You resize stickers and decorations by pressing the up or down directional buttons and rotate them by using the left and right directional buttons. Make them rise and fall into position with L2 and R2. And if you think it's just right, then immediately change your mind, like a certain fussy feline I know. Simply delete it with the delete button and start again. Up here, we love to make all things bright and colourful, and if they already are, we make them doubly so with stickers. You can place them anywhere, in your pod, in levels, on objects, even on your own sack bottom if the whimsy takes you. To place a sticker, open your poppet and select Stickers and Decorations. Find one that has a jib you like the cut of and select it with the Action button. The right stick allows you to rotate it via the miracle of left and right, while the impossibly useful up and down allows the sticker to be scaled. Once you're happy with the dimensions, find a suitable location and place it with the Action button. Now, decorations are totally different to stickers insomuch as they have a different name, but apart from that, they're identical. Select, change, and place them like you would a sticker. They're on the next page. You can alter your already placed sticks and decks with the Edit tool. Highlight it, move it with the Action button, or just send it packing back into the Imagisphere for recycling with the Delete button. Marvellous. Just a reminder about your style files in the poppet. Select characters to spruce up your Sackboy in a variety of differing materials and accessories. The Next Page button is your virtual window shopping tool. Follow the latest karting fashions or set some new ones. Pressing the Action button applies the outfit. Not sure whether something goes with your current mood? Try the Randomize feature. There's a wash facility to strip back your sack body to nutty mode so you can start again. And what about your trolley, your wheels, your ride? It needs some individualizing too. Open Poppet and select Kart. It's a veritable kart sales room of vehicular choices. Put a deposit down on one with the Action button. And the options aren't just cosmetic. Oh, no, sir. Press Next Page to view the specs on offer. Body kits, customized wheels, heated seats, whatever you want. Select away, and once you're done, close Peter Poppet, and there's your jalopy. Rotate allows you a good look round it to metaphorically kick the tires. If you're happy, let's boogie. If you want to add a touch of magic to your level, then Emitters are the permitters of such a thing. They allow you to spawn objects into your scene out of nowhere, so you can dazzle and impress even the most hard-to-please visitors. They're found in the Tools bag menu of the Poppet under Gadgets. Once you've placed an emitter into your level, open its Tweak menu to give it something to emit. You might want it to produce a pre-made prop or one of your own objects. You can select where the object is spawned too, which is quite handy. You don't want to spawn a neon flashing no entry sign in the middle of your track, now do you? What good would that do? None. You can also set the speed at which the object is spawned. If it's a spinny something or other, set the frequency of its spinniness. The lifetime tweak sets how long the object will exist, and the maximum tweak sets how many objects in total will be created. There's a preview facility to show what it'll look like in your game, so you can get it looking just so before going live. But you know, the emitter isn't just for gifts. You can set it to add unwanted surprises too. How about turning into a fun gun, a turret of trouble to make your visitors sit up in their carts and grip their steering wheels with white-knuckle expectation? Set the weapon platform tweak to on, and then designate a weapon. Oh, before I forget, the FX emitter is a specialized kind of emitter that creates particle effects. Its tweak menu gives you a selection of particles it can generate. You can alter the particle colors too, and the angle and speed of emission. It's all amazingly visually pleasing, I can tell you. Maybe you'd like to know about the amazing camera facilities available on the Gadgets page of the Tools bag. They're just the thing if you want to create different in-game views. Get some action shots or some people's best sides. Or some action shots of some people's backsides. It's up to you. The cameras are exceptional fun, but there's some technical jargon I need to impart first. Say, for example, you'd like to follow a player's progress as they tackle the rigors and challenges of your level. Yes? Well then, the game camera is your answer. Lovely bit of kit, this. Ideal for gameplay views. Be aware that it overrides the default camera view when activated, though. You can alter the camera's view by selecting Angle and Zoom in the Tweak section. This is Edit mode, and you're literally looking through the lens of the camera. Makes it easier to line up a shot. The right stick allows you to rotate the camera's view, while the left stick lets you pan the camera around like a real director. Make use of the directional buttons to zoom in and out and roll the camera for cool effects, or FX, as you directors say. The L2 and R2 buttons let you lower or lift the camera. Place the game camera on a spawn point if you want it to follow a player's cart. Or place it somewhere in your level and it'll become activated when a cart drives into its trigger volume. Nifty stuff! You can also name the camera in tweaks too. I called mine Cameron the Camera. Susan wanted to call one Lenny the Lens, but I thought that sounded a bit common. The other nifty facility on the game camera is that you can set the view to rotate with the game camera if you'd like. That looks pretty cool, as they don't say. Also, you can set the position for the audio listener, the microphone, and duration of transitions. Phew! So much to choose from. There's more tweaks here than half an hour with Nipping Nigel, the pinching pundit of Graspington. Like the mind-blowingly useful Microchip, the sequencer allows you to organize logic and other gadgets. The difference being the sequencer works to a timeline, so you can control the order of events. Very handy for cut scenes and advanced AI. Once you place the sequencer in the level, you can access its circuit board by pressing the Expand button. Remember, it's a timeline, so logic and other gadgets placed will trigger in sequence, so the correct order of placement is very important. Preview your sequencer's events by clicking up on the directional buttons or by entering test drive mode, just to make sure you've got it 100% A-OK. The sequencer has one power input that turns the entire sequence on. Logic and gadgets placed inside the sequencer will activate as the sequencer's playhead passes over them. Not logic gates, though. gadgets placed on the sequencer's circuit board can be stretched to increase the duration of their effects, which is a nifty idea. Also, why not adjust the size of the sequencer's circuit board by opening up the board's tweak menu? Might be fun. Alter the duration of each stripe or segment. And do you want the sequencer to loop or not? And if so, in which direction? So much choice, so much to play with, so get on with it. Not happy with how your level looks, feels and plays, you don't need to scrap it and start again. Oh, goodness me, no. That's why we give you the Global Settings option. The Global Controls page has some rather amazing settings. You can alter the water level of your world, reset the track or terrain or props, heck, the entire level if you want. You can control the number of players required for the level on the Gameplay Settings page. Faff on with the AI difficulty, the team settings, and the conditions for winning. What else? The Audio page. Here you can adjust what your level sounds like by tweaking the sound effects, background music, and speech volumes. There's other stuff to play with like reverb and filters. Go nuts! Be a global DJ. Adjust your level's sunlight, ambient light, and fog levels via the lighting settings. On the Backgrounds page, you can choose a new level theme to keep your returning customers guessing. If only you had global settings down there on Earth. It'd make things a dash sight easier, I would have thought. Keep your track state of the cart and a constant tourist attraction, add some goals and checkpoints to keep up the interest. They're ideal for inventing different types of races and game modes, and act as visual markers which become activated when a player touches them. You find your goals and checkpoints under Gameplay Kit in the Tools bag. Goals, for example, can be used to direct racers to a certain point along your track. You select and move a goal like any other object, and a firm but fair prod of the action button sees it placed in your level. There's some neat goal tweaks to faff with, such as how it looks, if it turns on or off when activated, and whether or not the goal acts as a respawn point. Checkpoints are similar to goals, but have a higher faff factor, as you can do more with them. Say you want checkpoints to be activated and triggered in sequence, like in a waypoint race. Well, that's entirely doable. You'll note they have one power input and one output that you can hook up to logic and other gadgets. A handy feature, I would imagine. A checkpoint's tweak menu boasts other functions, like whether or not it acts as a spawn point, or how much of a score the player receives when they activate it. Even who gets the points. You can mess with the visuals and input actions too. It's a faffer's delight. Goodies bag, found in the poppet, contains materials, props, and created and collected objects. These objects give you the freedom to make your level look however you want. Let's take a look at this bottomless carrier of wonderment, shall we? Open up your poppet and select it. As you gad about in story mode, you collect things, cool stuff, useful items and the like. The props are automatically stored on page 2, ready to be inserted into your levels. You can browse through your items with the left stick or the directional buttons, and if you want to play with one, select it with the action button. To traverse your level, you move with the left stick. You move the prop up and down with the L2 or R2 buttons. The directional buttons permit scaling, so you can change its size, and you rotate it with the left and right directional buttons. If you think you have your prop in the exact shape and place, press the action button to seal the deal and pop it in your level. We have a little saying about our editing services up here. Indeedy, indeedy, it's all done in 3D. I didn't say it was a particularly good one. Yeah. To edit an object, first open your Poppet and then select the Poppet cursor. Place it over the object you want to alter and press the Action button. Now you have free rein to move it in any of the 3 dimensions. Faff on with the editing tools available. Get something wrong and you can simply undo it with the confusingly titled Undo button. The Delete button rids you of it completely, if so be your will.
Of course, everyone has a change of heart from time to time. Susan went vegetarian last week for an hour. A vegetarian cat, I ask you. So, if you've placed an object in your level and it's not quite right, you can alter it in the Tweak menu. It's easy. Open the Poppet, select the Poppet cursor, and then select the item you wish to modify. The Tweak menu will spring into being when you select the item and tap the Menus button. There's a range of adaptations you can play with here, such as snapping the object to the ground, mirroring it, or even rotating it in 3D space. Modifying an object in 3D is quite exhilarating. The left stick and directional buttons enable rotation of the object on the X, Y, and Z axis. Give it a spin! There on the old big blue marble, a Powerup is a wheat-based cereal with an energy drink instead of milk. Up here in LBP, it's oh so much more. Then some. Consider the Grabinator, a tool so wonderfully power-uppy-ish it transcends proper words. Found in the Gameplay Kit page in the Tools Bag menu, the Grabinator affords you super-duper strength, making heavy objects seem like unheavy objects. Like the other power-ups, such as the Jetpack or Grapple Hook, you select it and place it in your level when you drive through it. It's an automatic thing. Now, how dynamic are you? Or rather, how dynamic are the objects in your level? Well, there's the question. In order to pick up objects, they'll have to be dynamic and grabbable. Dynamic is just our fancy way of saying something can be manipulated or faffed around with. To make an object dynamic, open up the Object's Tweak menu and turn Dynamic to On. Now it can be thrown about like a rag doll in the hands of a precocious child. You'll also want to make it grabbable, which is a valuable asset in LittleBigPlanet. To make an object grabbable, you'll need one of those rather useful physics tweakers found in the Gadgets section of the Tools Bag. Place one on that cube and we'll try one out. We can now change its properties, and I don't mean its villas in the south of France. Open the Tweaker's Tweak menu and switch Grabbability to On. This allows you to pick up the cube using the Grabinator by simply getting close to it and pressing the Grab button. The marvels of modern technology, eh? The internet will be in colour one day. Just kidding, that would be witchcraft. So, if you wanted to know when something is being grabbed, for instance in a game of Keep Away, you can use the Grab sensor. You find that under the Sensors section in the Tools Bag. Crazy, isn't it? There's something I'd like you to grapple with. How amazing would it be to grab hold of objects in your levels? To come to grips with them and control them? To, essentially, grapple with them and win? Well, you can. If you have an object you'd like to manipulate, the first thing you need is a grapple hook power-up. There are two basic grapplers, the wonderful grapple hook and the delightful grapple sponge. They reside in the Gameplay Kit page found in the Tools Bag menu. Place the grapple hook in your level, preferably a place you can easily run into it. Then put the grapple sponge in close proximity, floating in the air like a plane that's run out of fuel. add a boost pad if you want to, but it's not vital. Now, once you drive through the grapple hook power-up, you'll be able to grapple onto the sponge and swing like a half-mad Tarzan. It's perhaps worth noting that grapple sponges are for swinging purposes only, but they do have great tweak menus so you can alter the height and distance of the swinginess. If you're not in a swingy mood, have a go with a grappleizer. They're enormous fun too. A grappleizer is an object tweaker device that makes things grapply, so you can grapple with them. Liven up any old object by putting a grappleizer on it, and then you can use a grapple hook to do what you flipping well want with it.
OK, so now you can grapple with things. All well and good, but by placing a grapple sensor on an object, a signal will be emitted when the grappling is being done, there in the sensors section of your poppet.
Sackboy should always know where his tools bag is. That'd look awesome on a t-shirt because it's so flipping well true. The tools bag is always in your poppet, and in it are the trappings to make your levels ebb and flow with the tides of your amazing imagination. The tools, gadgets, gameplay kit, sounds, and music will add animation and mild peril to your creations. The group tool, for example, allows you to join objects together for easier editing or perfectionist faffing. It's in the tools bag. Situate the cursor over items you wish to group together and press the selection button to add it to the object group. If you make a Freddy Fluff Fluff and select an item by accident, press the toggle button to deselect it from the group. Objects become highlighted once selected, so you know exactly which ones you're faffing with. If you think you have the entire group selected, press the Action button. And there you have it. You've formed a group. Now they will move in unison. Very handy. Now, put up your hands. This is a stick-up. Literally, because you can now glue objects together, providing they are meant to be glued together. No sticking a frog to a sheep to make a woolly jumper or anything like that. Gluing is a very quick and nifty way of creating a group, albeit with slightly less control over the assembled pieces. Pick which objects you want to glue together and place them against one another. You'll note that the objects become highlighted. Hold Action to seal the deal, and the objects are then glued together. The Capture Object tool allows you to save your creations so you can play with them at a later date or share with your fellow LittleBigPlanetians. Select the Capture Object tool from the poppet, choose the object you want to save, then press the Action button. There, saved for future delight in the My Objects page of your goodies bag. If you'd like an object to swing back and forth, then we recommend a hinge motor. A nice set of opening and closing gates, for example. Select the hinge from the tools bag in the poppet and then attach it to this fence. Think on, though, an object's pivot, i.e. the point at which it rotates, relies completely on where you place the hinge motor. For instance, if you place the hinge in the middle of this fence, it will swing back and forth from its centre. If you place the hinge at one of its ends, then the fence will open and close in a big arc, rather like my garden gate before it was stolen. I'm sure someone fenced it. You adjust the angle of a hinge, its arc, and its speed in the Tweak menu. You can also decide whether or not it pauses, and which direction it moves in, clockwise, counterclockwise. The list is ended.
Included a number of optional extras in the carts for your amusement, so some other extras have had to go. Nothing major. The air freshener shaped like a tree, the floor mats, and the, airbags. But just look at what we've added. A jetpack. It's like giving your kart an atomic 5 a day, all in one go and chucking it off a cliff. You can put a jetpack on your track somewhere for use in a race. They're in the gameplay kit section of your poppet. Drive over it during a race and the word zoom suddenly has several thousand letter O's added to it. Until the fuel runs out, that is. There's also a bounce pad extra to be played with. This allows your car to bounce like a healthy young kangaroo the same distance each time you use it. Very handy. This is also in the gameplay kit section of the poppet and should be placed on the track to be used when you run over it. Alter its settings in the tweak menu first to get it just how you want it. Height and angle, for example. You'll always bounce in the direction your kart is facing. Worth bearing in mind, that. Another cool extra is the launch pad. When triggered, it sends you and your trolley flying through the air, but lands you in the same place every time. Again, it's in the gameplay kit section of Poppet, and you should tweak it to adjust the distance and height of your mighty bound. Good stuff. See how we think of you. I'd like to say use these devices wisely, but where would the fun in that be? Your levels are alive. Kind of. They have a unique artificial intelligence that you can tinker with. The Kart Brain tweakers that you place on the spawn points are found with the Kart Tweakers in the tools bag. For example, the Race Brain allows you to customize the racer AI. General behaviors are race, reset, stop idle, block chase, and race to position. Why not also have a tinker with specific characteristics like targeting, aiming, and drifting? Go mad! You can't break it. The Arena's AI is governed by the Battle Brain. A variety of general behaviors are on offer here too, such as basic battle to defending or fleeing. Again, there are specific behaviors to play with, like go to checkpoint or target lead player. You can tweak individual characteristics for more in-depth behavioral patterns. There's also an actor brain, which is a contradiction in terms. This brain allows you to isolate specific behaviors to create advanced AI behavior sets. Dashed useful in a cutscene, too. Behaviors to choose from are reset, stop idle, jump, and follow spline. Remember, brains for race, battle, and actor just have one input and one output only, but this will allow you to trigger the specific behavior you have set, or indeed trigger something else you've cooked up. Surprise us. Oh, before I forget, dash this faulty actor brain of mine, I must mention the Pathfinder Object Tweaker. It tells the AI if something is drivable, or an obstacle, or should be utterly ignored completely. Place it on a moving object that is actually drivable or could be considered an obstacle. You set which type in the Pathfinder's tweak menu. Those cockpit and chassis tweakers, which sounds like a firm of solicitors in a Dickens novel, but isn't. They let you create custom karts. To do so, you must first place a chassis tweaker on the object you wish to make into a kart. Remember, the placement of the chassis will determine where the kart's wheels will be. Near to the ground is probably best. The cockpit tweaker is optional, but it will allow you to see Sackboy on top of his new ride. The placement of this tweaker determines the position of the seating for the kart, so put it on your object where you want Sackboy to sit. Remember to utilize the Object Creation tool to save your custom kart amongst your custom objects. And you'll need to place a Kart Transformer tweaker on the spawn point so your Sackboy can use it in the level. That's in the tweak menu, if memory serves.
Now time to hit the road in your customized vehicular work of art. Sometimes you want to beef up your trolley, upgrade your vehicle, man, customize your kart. So you're going to need Kart Tweakers in your levels. They're in the Gadgets page of the tools bag and must be placed on spawn points to become effective. But not cockpit and chassis tweakers, more of those lads in a Minimo. The handling tweaker allows you to adjust how your kart drives. The feel of your wheels, dude, as the kids never say. Couple of modes to choose from here. There's normal kart, tank controls, and autopilot. Direct control controls the kart's movement purely with the left stick. You can also tweak a number of parameters for reach control mode, like top speed and acceleration. The Power-Up loadout and Weapon loadout tweakers permit you to outfit karts with special abilities and pickups. How about a grapple hook or Grabinator? The Power-Up loadout gives you those. Or, if you want to be armed to the teeth, visit the arsenal that is the Weapon loadout. Use it responsibly, though. That means no witnesses. Need a bigger kart? Or maybe something a tad smaller for precise handling? You can adjust the scale of your kart with the aptly named Kart Scale Tweaker. All of these tweakers have a power input that allows you to turn them on or off as you please. If they're not wired up, they'll automatically be on. LittleBigPlanet karts now come with Controlinators and Kartinators fitted as standard. These lovely Kart Tweaker doodads give you ultimate control over the button presses of your controller and the vroom vroom of your kart, and should always be placed on spawn points. Kart Controlinator allows you to control objects in your level by use of the controller buttons. Motors, lights, sounds, gadgets you created, even your stereo. Connect a Kart Controlinator to multiple music objects to make your own LBPK jukebox. Music to race to. The Kart Controlinator can be found on the Kart Tweakers shelf in your tools bag. It might only have one input, but its outputs are legendary. Just open the Kart Controlinator's board to see them. The Kart Controlinator board works quite similarly to the Microchip's circuit board, probably made in the same factory. Move your cursor over it and hit Expand to open it right up. You'll notice each output corresponds to a button on your controller, and you can hook these outputs up to trigger all sorts of weird and wonderful creations. Maybe the song on your jukebox has lost its flavour. Hook up one of the outputs to your jukebox so it will play the other available tunes with every press of the button. Music to burn rubber to. Also in your tools bag, under Kart Tweakers, is your good chum, the Kartinator. Like the Kart Controlinator, it has one input that you can use to turn it on or off with the gift of logic. The big difference is, inside the Kartinator's board, there are even more inputs, each one corresponding to one of your kart's actions. Steering, acceleration, weapons fire, and even your kart's horn all have individual inputs you can use to control them. To change what button fires your Weaponators, you can hook up a Kart Controlinator in conjunction with your Kartinator. Simply connect the Kart Controlinator's button output, say for example the triangle button, to the weapon input on the Kartinator. Now when you race, the triangle button will be the firing button. Ooh, nearly forgot. The Kartinator has one tweak you should be mindful of. It's a tweak that oversees whether or not inputs which are not hooked up work normally. For instance, if you only set a custom button for your weapons to fire but leave everything else alone, this tweak determines whether the rest of your controls work as they should or are turned off. We call it the pedantic tweak.
Sadly, there's still no cup holders as standard in your karts, but one day... Let's take a look at the look-at motor. It rotates the object it's attached to so that it is always pointing at a specific target. Clever, eh? This arrow, for example. To make it point at you, open the tools bag from the poppet and select a look-at motor on the gadgets page, just there. You can tell which direction the object will look by looking at the direction the motor arrow points. Also, the placement of the look-at motor determines the point at which the object will rotate. Important stuff. Attach the motor to the geopaint arrow and rotate the motor using the directional buttons. Ensure the motor's arrow points in the same direction as the geopaint arrow. Next, move the arrow so that the look-at motor sits right in the middle of it. OK, so now when you drive up to the arrow, it'll point at you and you'll know it's definitely you driving. Have a story in your level, or just want to add some important information, you can do so with the marvellous Magic Mouth resource. You get them from the Gadgets page of your tools bag, and you can add your own text and dialogue to them. Select and attach it to an object. You input the text to be displayed via the Tweak menu. Also, how long the text is displayed for and how many times you want it played once activated. If the Magic Mouth is on a sequencer, you can also choose whether or not subtitles will be displayed. There's a trigger volume, too, you can adjust. You can use this trigger volume to activate it, or you can use a power input. Bear in mind that whatever the Magic Mouth says, all the players in the game will see it, so think on. Don't go calling anyone a roadhog or a learner driver. And do you want a sound to accompany the text displayed? If so, select gibberish, and a variety of almost amusing gobbledygook goes on offer. Maybe you'd like your own voice in there. Select recorded for that. No Rudy-Woodies, mind. We'll be listening. If you put a Magic Mouth on a character, why not give it a name which will be displayed when it's yapping merrily away? Loquacious Lorraine or Natter Jack. Something highly amusing like that. If you want to, you can really get stuck into all the technical computer wizardry of LittleBigPlanet. But where do you put all that imagispherial creative logic once you've mastered it? A microchip would be handy. There is one in the advanced logic gadgets of your tools bag by Jingo, so let's play with it. You can place the microchip on any object, including spawn points. There are no outputs on a microchip initially, but it does have one power input, a changeable facility depending on what you place inside your chip. To place logic and other gadgets inside the chip, you first need to open its circuit board. Highlight the microchip with the component cursor and then press the Expand button and you're in. Roomy, isn't it? A very welcoming grid is now ready to instantly receive any gadget you wish to add, but it will then behave as though it was attached to the object the microchip is on. So, like the physics tweaker, for example, it'll use the microchip's position as the gadget directly affects the object. This is a good thing, as you can use the microchip's power input to trigger the gadgets and other logic that it contains. If it's not wired up, it'll be just on, as a matter of course. Welcome to LittleBigPlanet Karting's Create mode, where you put the art into kart. You can create the wackiest of races, battles, and whatever else your imagination can come up with. Prepare to enjoy the full hover mode experience in Create mode. This is movement in 3D space. Use the left stick to do so. To lift yourself up, use the R2 button. The L2 button brings you smoothly down again.
Try rotating the camera in the level editor by using left and right on the right stick. That's pretty neat too. Zooming in and out is done with the right stick. Zoom in with the up, zoom out with the down. If you want to tilt the camera to change its angle, hold the L3 button and then move the camera around with the right stick. Cool, isn't it? So, if you want to select items in the level editor, what do? Where do you turn? Well, have Pop-It Cursor will travel. Pop the bally thing over the object in question and tap the Action button. It's now selected, movable, and offering freely its properties. If you're doing quite detailed work, hooking up logic, for example, where precision is the order of the day, the level editor's camera moves slower when you zoom in to allow for surgical perfection. Zooming out makes the camera speed up, which is also useful for moving larger objects or crossing long distances. You can race from one end of your level to the other in seconds. Seconds are units of LittleBigPlanet time and are the equivalent of 2.5 Earth seconds on a good day. And when you are moving objects about, always remember that we are working in 3 dimensions now. Exciting stuff. Rotating the camera about will give you a full view of your scene, so you can make sure that everything is lined up and looking perfect from all angles. Now that you've got the basics down, why not have a go at building a nice racetrack? Could be fun. So what about this movie camera that sackfolk have been raving about on all the forums lately? Well, apparently it's quite similar to the game camera, but is more suited to the movies you'd make within your level. It too can be set to follow the player if you wish. Designating its target type to Kart will have it track the player, while switching the target type to Gadget will keep the camera firmly fixed in position. Angle and zoom are, as you expect, in the Tweak menu. Here, the view will be displayed with letterboxing, like a foreign cowboy movie from the 1970s. It has a rather useful input, which when triggered automatically switches it on, as well as an output that sends out a signal once its hold time has been reached. Hold time? That's the amount of time the camera will be active before turning off. You can even make use of a sequencer along with your movie camera, which allows for total control of your movies for optimum cinematic thrills, spills, and yikes factor. Maybe your movie is going to be shown as a pre- or post-race taster for your level. If so, you'll need to hook up the sequencer to the scoreboard so that the movie will play before or after the level starts. It's easily done. Say you want it shown as a pre-race movie. Connect the scoreboard's pre-race output to the movie camera's input. This will turn the camera on when the level starts. Finally, connect the camera's output to the scoreboard's pre-race input, and it will tell the scoreboard that the movie has ended and the 3, 2, 1 countdown will begin. Oh, you'd better stock up on popcorn, nachos, sweets and drinks so you can charge a small fortune for them, just like in the real movie theatres. Are you a highly motivated person? If not, you could always fit yourself with a path follower motor. They aren't backwards at coming forwards, I can tell you. They can even get a favourite object moving along your track if you want them to. They're found in the Gadgets page of the Tools bag. But you'd need to create a path for it to go round first. The Draw Spline tool does this for you, and that's on the first page of your Tools bag. To bring the path into existence, simply hold down the Draw Spline button and move the cursor. Magically, the path appears. Release it when you're done. There's an Edit Spline tool too, so you can perfect your path by putting points where you please, or indeed deleting them if the whimsy so takes you. OK, so when you're crazy about your paving, it's time to place the Path Follower motor. The motor will automatically attach itself to the spline like a geek to a rare comic book.
The next thing is to get that motor attached to the object you want motivating. To ensure everything's working correctly, we've installed a test drive mode, so you can see it moving. Nifty, eh? An exceptionally useful gadget is the physics tweaker. It's designed to work in unison with other object tweaker gadgets so the most dynamic and dazzlingly effective objects can be produced. The physics tweaker allows you to adjust the different characteristics of a dynamic object. How heavy do you want it to be? How much friction does it have? That sort of thing. They also have driving properties too, an exciting feature which allows you to adjust what it's like to drive on the surface of the object. Slip governs how slippery the object is, so the thrills and spills of winter racing are called into being. Drag governs the rate at which a driver slows down. That's quite a hairy one if you set it right. Rumble controls the amount of the rumble in your controller, which enhances the driving experience. And there's more. In the special properties section is the most special thing: grabbability. Set it to on, and you can make an object grabbable. Have a faff on with it all. It's the best way to learn. Why not add some movers and rotators, which are unique object tweaker gadgets, to make the objects do unexpected and whimsical things? Remember, they only work with dynamic objects, and in order for them to function, the object's dynamic tweak must be set to on. The thruster tweaker is a workhorse of a gadget and applies a constant force to an object. You can choose exactly where upon an object's person that force is applied. Also, whether or not the force rotates with the object or remains constant. We also have a rotator tweaker for your delectation. It works in a similar way to the rotate motor, but is specifically for dynamic objects. You can adjust the direction of the rotation by tweaking the output values. Positive is clockwise, and negative is counterclockwise. Personally, I find magnets repulsive, but that's a polar problem of mine. You might like them. The LittleBigPlanet magnet adds force to an object. Set its polarity in the tweak menu. Positive is an attractive force, and negative is a repulsive force. You can also set the distance at which it affects other objects around it and the outcome of those effects. If you want the magnetized object to only affect a specific object, you can designate a tag. I've always wanted to use the word gyroscope, but I've never had the opportunity until now. The gyroscope works like the look-at motor, but is geared for dynamic objects. You have the option to set a specific target for it to look at or a specific orientation that it'll always rotate to. You can also set whether or not the object always points at a positive or negative output from its target orientation, gyroscopically speaking. Oh, gyroscopically. Never said that before either. Pay attention, as I need you to pick something up rather quickly. It's my dry cleaning. I'm kidding. It's info on pickups, actually. There's 3 types, and you need them to complete your first level. They are weapon pickups, score bubbles, and prize bubbles, and all can be found on the gameplay kit page of the tools bag. Weapon pickups create weapons and power-ups. The old faithfuls like mines, heat-seeking rockets, or boosts. Players can use these to their advantage in your races and battles. Score bubbles give you points towards your score. If you collect 5 or more in a row, you get a multiplier bonus, which is a nice incentive. Prize bubbles let you create prizes for the sack personages who visit your level. Share the love. That's what we say up here. Once you have placed a prize bubble, select it with the pop-it cursor and press the menu button to open its tweak menu. Now you can decide who gets what, so bear in mind who likes what.
Don't ever get me an umbrella, by the way. I'm allergic to them. They bring me out in rain. The deliciously informative Little Big Planet Gadget Spotter's Guide lists 5 different types of motor. It says motors available are the piston, the hinge, the rotate motor, the look-at motor, and the path follower motor. Ooh. They're ideal for attaching to objects you'd like to set in motion and can be gawped at in the Gadgets page of the tools bag in the poppet. We really should check them out while we're here, folks. Let's see what the piston motor does. The book says the piston moves an object in a straight line. Once you place the piston in your level, you will be able to see a preview of its movement path. Hey, let's attach a piston to this sardine can to make it into a stomper. We'll first need to rotate it so that it moves vertically instead of horizontally. Select the piston with the poppet cursor and use the 3D rotate option. Rotate the piston so that its movement path points up. Now select its connector with the poppet cursor and select the sardine can. Press the action button to confirm, and a rod will appear between the object and the motor, indicating the connection is successful. To adjust the piston's power and distance, press the menu button to open up the tweak menu. Lots to play with here, such as the amount of time it takes to complete its movement, the length of its path, or whether or not it pauses once it's reached the end of its trajectory. Hey, the guide also says you can hook up multiple objects to one motor. We could have an entire school of stomper sardine cans. I don't know what we'd teach them, though. Player sensors detect when visitors to your level are within a certain range of something, thus giving you the element of surprise. Lots of fun to be had here, methinks. There's 2 kinds, the player sensor and the tag sensor. So, if we wanted to trigger this pinwheel here when players are in a certain range, we'd select the player sensor from the poppet and place it on said pinwheel. It'll now send out a signal when players are in range. You can adjust its range as well as who you even want to detect. This is achieved in its tweak menu. Select the player sensor's output and then click on the rotate motor's power input. A wire will appear between the two to accentuate the connection. The pinwheel will now only spin when there are players in range of it. It'll give them the fright of their lives. So, what about the tag sensor and tag, I hear you thinking? Well, I was getting round to that. It's similar to the player sensor inasmuch as you can use it to detect if certain individuals or objects are in range. Tag sensor and tag are also found in the tools bag of the poppet. The tag sensor only reacts to the specific tag it is set to detect. For instance, if you set the tag sensor to blue, say, it will only send out a signal if the individual or object with the blue tag is in range. You see? Clever, isn't it? It doesn't have to be blue. Pick any colour you like. I'm a mauve person myself. Tags can be attached to any kart via the spawn point or object. You assign them in the tweak menu. Turn on the tag like you would a motor, i.e. with its power input. If it's not wired up, it'll be on anyway. I hope you were paying attention to all that, as I've forgotten most of it already. Pretty obvious stickers are the new rock and roll. I'm actually covered head to toe in stickers right now. Love 'em. But did you know you can create your own customized sticker with the all-seeing PlayStation Eye? It's true! Open the poppet with the menu button and go to the PlayStation Eye page in the Stickers and Decorations menu. Next, choose a photo frame that takes your fancy and place it in your level with the Action button. You control the movement of the frame as you would any other sticker. To take a picture, press the action button once more. Choose a suitable object, though. No grannies on the loo or anything. Especially not mine, as she'd beat you up. Sprightly old thing.
Okay, let's have a little test of the track, shall we? See if it's suitably tracky. That's technical talk for good grip, the right amount of curves, corners and hills, and above all, does it make that deliciously, audibly pleasing screech when you burn the bends? Important factors. So, keep pressing the close button until your poppet is gone. Then press down on the directional buttons. Now make room for the old vroom vroom, because you are now driving me, old sackboy racer. Have a spin, get the feel of the road, and when you want to get back to where you were, press on the directional buttons. Or how about a test race? We kart heads usually get to know a track best when we're in a race, so press the start button to bring up the pause menu. Select Change to Play mode. 3, 2, 1, ready, Teddy, go! Blast off! You're racing! You can return to your editing business by selecting Change to Create mode.
So, are your customers happy with the service you've provided? Are the little big planetians gadding around your racetrack getting the full racing experience? One way to keep an eye on them, well, two really, are sensors. There's two types. The race position sensor and the progress sensor track how the karters are doing in your level. If they stayed for the full course, you must have done something right? Both can be found in the tools bag and should be placed on the spawn point of the kart you wish to track. The race position sensor sends out a signal based on the kart's current standing in the race. This sensor sends out a signal which is, in effect, a percentage based on the racer's place. So, if your race has 4 players, the leader will send out a signal at 100%. Second place will send out a signal at 66%, third will be 33%, and last place will be 0%. Does that make sense? The progress sensor detects how close a contestant is to completing a race. So, if your race has 2 laps, when the first one is done, it'll send out a signal of 50%. Race position sensors and progress sensors can both be used in conjunction with a threshold advanced logic gadget. Very similar to a counter, this thing, as it keeps track of input. But in this case, the threshold sends out a signal when its input is within a certain set of values. This makes it ideal for race position sensors and progress sensors. Sensors. It's senseless not to use them. Better way to enjoy the full, polite euphoria and mild hysteria of LittleBigPlanet Karting than with the PlayStation Move racing wheel. Its ergonomic splendor, coupled with the buttons, bells and whistles on your existing controller, enhances the experience of controlling your kart. For further realism, sit in an armchair, put 4 washing up bowls around the chair to be wheels, and get some annoying kid to sit behind you saying, "Are we there yet?" over and over, just like real driving. Having optimum control of your kart is imperative. You don't want to try and hug a curve and end up wrapping yourself around a cardboard palm tree, now do you? You can recalibrate your amazing PlayStation Move racing wheel at any time by going to Controls and seeking out the Recalibrate function. Kart maintenance, very important. To show you the amazingly useful properties of a randomizer, I've invited my friends, the famous variety act, the Bow Tie Pengy Wengy Woos. Their bow ties are on rotate motors, making them go around and around. Amazing, I know, but let's add some variety to their act. We'll add a randomizer, which can be found in the advanced logic section of the poppet. Connect the output of the randomizer to the inputs of the motors.
Now tweak the randomizer by changing the on and off times to affect how fast it changes.
You can also set whether or not the randomizer turns the rotators on one at a time, adds them and resets them, or toggles them off and on. This is done through the input action tweak.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the bow tie pengy wengy woos. Look, their bow ties go around. Oh, good grief, these TV talent shows have a lot to answer for.
Want to spruce up the tracks you've created at any point, add a few bits and bobs, liquor paint, a quaint death trap or two, etc. Open your Poppet and seek out the Mod Track page of the Track and Arena Edit menu. Painting your stadium of motorized combat puts the do in doodle, as it's simple and fun. Select a new material and start painting with it by holding down the Action button and moving up or down the track with the left stick. You can paint your bridges and fences in the same manner. Incidentally, if you do want to add a quaint death trap, use the Empty Surface Magic Eraser tool to camouflage parts of your track. That'll keep them on their tires. So, what do rotate motors do, I hear you ask? Well, they rotate, strange as it seems, and will do the same to any objects they're attached to. Your mind is spinning with the possibilities right now, isn't it? Select the rotate motor from the tools bag in the Poppet and attach it to Mr. Garstang Tweddle's bow tie. He's a penguin and my friend. The rotate motor's placement determines the point from which the object will rotate. Place the motor right in the middle of the bow tie and it will spin around its centre. He'll like that. Very centred chap is Mr. Garstang Tweddle. You can adjust the rotate motor's speed and direction in which it spins by opening up its tweak menu, or beak menu in Mr. Garstang Tweddle's case. He's a bird, you see. Well, you had to be there. Big Planet's secondary directive is equality and goodwill to all SAC persons. So you'd think there'd be no place for elitist things like scoreboards in our levels. Cobblers. If you've won a race and you want people to know about it while you triumphantly shout, "Yahoo sucks to you, Tristram," it's perfectly natural. So you'll find a scoreboard in the gameplay kits section of the tools bag. Place one in your level, then select it with your menu button to bring up a feast of parameters. Parameters are extra bits and bobs to make a scoreboard work in precisely the way you'd like it to. Remember, the LittleBigPlanet Prime directive is create and share. So why not share prizes from your own collection of goodies, trinkets and fancy baubles? Or should that be fancy bubbles? Fancy prize bubbles. Yes, up here, love becomes a precious resource only when you've given it all away. Oh. About some tunes in your level, or some ambient sound effects to set the scene properly. Sound like a plan? Have a butcher's at the sound and music pages in the tools bag. There's a selection of sound and music categories for your audible delectation. Try them out. Select a music radio gadget and place it in your level with the Action button. The Music Tweak menu is one sound system you'd never turn your nose up to, or ear. The volume controls the volume, and the Start Point tweak allows you to choose where in the track it kicks in. I love a cool guitar riff when I'm karting, but holding a guitar and the wheel is tricky, so this is why the Start Point tweak is so handy. The Trigger Radius tweak adjusts the distance at which the radio gadget is activated. Sound effects are fun too. A boing or a spladoosh when someone trashes their kart can take the pain away, trust me. There are looped tracks or single spot sounds to choose from. So, if you picked an alert, for example, you could place the sound gadget onto an object in your level and it'd be wired for sound. Well, a beep, buzz or a wah-wah at least. The Modify tweak changes the sound in different ways, so have a good play about with the settings to find the right vibe for you. The sound's intensity is set via the attenuation facility. The higher the attenuation, the more audible it will be from farther away. Focus tweak is pretty cool too. It permits you to highlight certain sounds so that they are clearer when up against other sound effects and music in your scene. And if you want a bit of peace and quiet, you can turn sound and music gadgets off with their power inputs. There's 3 types of spawn points, and this is the first. Basically, if you suffer a post-living situation in a game, you're reborn here. Spawn points really are the saucer beneath your level's teacup. Indeed, you can't save your level unless you have at least one. All karts in your game will begin at a spawn point. Every kart needs its own spawn point. It's the law. So if you create, I don't know, an 8-kart race, you must have 8 spawn points. And in keeping with that law, any logic or gadgets placed on a spawn point will be applied to the kart that spawns there. This will govern how the karts behave in gameplay. Whilst spawn points are automatically added to your level, respawn points need to be installed manually. They determine where a player will reappear if they purchase land for the purposes of agriculture. You know, buy the farm, get smushed. They only function during gameplay. If cinematic antics are your thing, then might we recommend some movie spawn points? Capturing magic moments is a doddle, as any logic or gadgets placed on a movie spawn point is automatically applied to the kart that spawns there during your pre-race or post-race movie. It's very clever. It shuts down when gameplay commences. No sense in wasting film. Amongst the myriad tools on offer to help you make your levels are the speed, reset and score sensors. The speed sensor tracks the speed of the object to which it is connected. You can set its target speed. That's the point at which it sends out a signal. Or you might want to hook it up to a motor and use the motor's speed scale input action to run the motor at the same speed as the sensor's object. The reset sensor tracks whether the kart it's attached to has been reset. Use the Tweak menu to pick what sort of reset you want tracked. Choose from any, out of bounds, weapons, hazard, manual, that's resetting yourself, or water. If you want to know whether a certain score has been reached, then we present you with the score sensor. Set it to whether the sensor keeps track of all the players' scores or just a certain team's score. Once the target score has been reached, it sends out a signal. Then you might want to organize a lavish prize-giving ceremony or just give a firm, gentlemanly handshake. You want to change the world. It's somewhat tricky down there, but up here in the Imagisphere, it's easier than changing your easy-peel Velcro trousers. Sculpt, mould and terraform your level's terrain so it's exactly the world you want it to be, simply by selecting Terrain Edit in your Poppet. You can literally paint your world into being with a virtual brush. There's a number to choose from. Let's select one of the terrain sculpt brushes with the Action button. Allow your left stick to channel your creativity into the brush and the directional buttons to rotate or resize it. The R2 and L2 buttons allow for upward and downward strokes. Maybe you'd like to pick a different material to work with from the Edit Terrain menu. Have a browse and pick the material you think best fits your scene.
Like the sculpting brush, you hold down the action button where you want the new material to be applied. I can sense you're going to be a grand master at this. I have a kitchen that needs decorating if you're up for it, cash in hand. Are you the type of little big planetian who likes a party to be utterly perfect? I am. Napkins have to be folded a certain way, cakes sliced at the right angles, and a 3 funny story maximum per guest. If so, then you'll want total control over your scene too, and advanced logic gadgets give you that control. They're on the Gadgets page of the Tools bag. We'll start with the counter and the timer. The counter keeps track of how many times it receives an on signal. Select one from the poppet and connect its output to the light's power. Next, connect the pressure sensor's output into the counter's input. Now the counter will keep a precise record of every time the pressure sensor is driven over, ideal for keeping a record of how many laps everyone has done. Why not set the start count in the tweak menu? This is the count number you want the counter to begin with. There's also the target count for the total number of inputs the counter receives before sending out its own signal to turn on the light. You can also set the gadget's visibility so it can be observed during your test drives. Let's take a little gander at the timer next. The timer is an advanced logic gadget you can set to send out a signal after a given amount of time. Select it from the poppet and exchange it for the counter. Like the counter, you can adjust the timer's target and starting values, but the timer has one other important tweak, the input action tweak. Set the target time to 3 seconds and the visibility to on. The input action tweak enables you to choose when and how the timer sends out a signal. For on and off, the timer will fill up whenever it receives a signal into its input. It'll cease its counting when the signal stops and will send out a signal once the target time has been reached. For backwards and forwards, the timer will fill up when it receives a signal and will empty when that signal stops, again sending out a signal once the target time has been reached. Now, how about count up, count down, and Count Dracula? Well, the latter has nothing to do with this, so we won't mention him again. Count up, however, is important. Once the timer receives an on signal, it will begin to fill up and ignore any other inputs until it reaches the target time. Then a signal is sent out. Similarly, in countdown mode, the timer counts down from its target time once it receives a signal. It'll send out its own signal until the target time is reached. Can we make you aware of some devices in the advanced logic section of Peter Poppet? Toggles are simple yet delightfully useful tools. Each time it gets a new input, it toggles, it changes. So, for example, put one on a button and a light. Connect the button to the input and the output to the light. When it receives an input, the light goes on. If it receives another one, the light goes off. Handy. Even handier, a selector. You can change the number of inputs and outputs in the tweak menu. So try connecting the 3 buttons to each of the selector's inputs. Now connect the outputs to the 3 lights. Stay with me. In effect, it will always have only one output active at any one time. Only the output closest to the end of the selector will be active if multiple inputs are active. Hope I'm not baffling you with science here. If I am, just nod and keep your mouth shut. Works for me. Ooh, the selector also has a cycle input. Just connect the button to the cycle input, and every time it's activated, it moves along to the next one. Yeah, okay, you can stop nodding now. You look like a toy dog in the back of someone's car. A fine tuner? I don't mean, are you a particularly accomplished fish? Do you like your creations to be ever so perfect? If so, then the horizontal and vertical shift tools are designed just for you. How about installing some tricky S-curves? Open your poppet and select the horizontal shift tool. Select the portion of track by sliding along it with the left stick and press Action to confirm this is the section you want to alter. The left stick moves the entire section around too, but if you want to move a specific side or edge, use the directional buttons, then the left stick. Remember to action any changes. Bumpy roads are great for shaking things up a bit, so why not create some with the vertical shift tool? It's quite like the horizontal shift tool, except you use up and down with the left stick to lower or lift bits of track. And if you think you've made your track bumpier than a bag full of potholes, you can recreate entire sections with the re-roll tool. It's easy. Re-roll is found in the track edit tools, and a track paint roller will appear in your level. Select what you want repaving and action it. Then select the point where the new section will rejoin the track. The track between these 2 points will be deleted, by the way. Press Action to complete the new section and join it with the rest of the track. All done. Shame our town council haven't got one of these gizmos. Mind you, they'd only lose it. Up here, we don't have your internet. We have the Imagisnet. It's a natural cerebral communications field that encompasses all of LittleBigPlanet. You can access it to send messages via transmitters and receivers, which are located on the Gadgets page of the Tools bag. The transmitter is the advanced logic responsible for sending out the signal. It has one input and must receive a signal from that input before it can transmit its own. In LittleBigPlanet, we use colours as channels. It's our arty nature. You can set which colour channel the transmitter transmits on. Receivers will only respond to signals that are on the correct colour channel. Receivers have one output, which can be attached to other gadgets to trigger them once a signal is received. In the Receiver's Tweak menu, there's the option to set the channel for the signal, the number of transmitter signals required to activate the receiver, and the activation type. These are last activated, highest, and lowest. This determines which signal the receiver responds to if there are multiple signals being transmitted. Every succulent inch of LittleBigPlanet is an Imagisnet hotspot. It's free, it's faster than the speed of thought, and it's all yours. We intended to put some parking sensors on your kart for you, but we weren't clever enough, so we made them into impact and weapon sensors for use on objects instead. Impact sensors can be added to an object to send out a signal when something has collided with it. We put them in your poppet on the sensors shelf. Also in your poppet, on the sensors shelf, is the aforementioned weapon sensor, which acts like a counter and records how many times your object's been hit. Might come in useful if you're in competition with someone and you want a full roundup of the final scores. You can change its target counter in the Tweak menu, so if you and your chum agree on a certain amount of hits, once this is reached, the gadget sends out a signal saying so. Parking sensors would have been nice, but then again, we don't have any car parks in LittleBigPlanet, so they'd have been a bit rubbish too. If you'd like to control either the outcome of your game or the physical properties of the level, then might we recommend World Tweakers. Being gadgets, we've put them on your Gadgets page. The Game Ender Tweaker forwards the game to the scoring phase when it receives a signal. Depending on whether you set its parameter to Success
or failure determines whether players are sent to the scoreboard screen or to the feedback screen. Here, they have the option to quit or give your level another bash. Rewards for taking part and doing well are always nice. The Prize Giver Tweaker awards players a prize when activated, just like a prize bubble. Prize givers don't need to be physically touched to be activated, which makes them all the more magical. To select which player gets what prize, open up the Gadget's Tweak menu. Why not select an object from your collection as a prize? Homemade gifts are always best and cheapest. The Score Giver Tweaker will give your players their scores. You can set how much or little a score there is to offer, how it gives the score, and whether or not the score is displayed for all and sundry to see. It's activated via its power input. An aquatic type, webbed feet and gills, you'll probably have water in your level. The Water Level Tweaker allows you to control how much water, how high it rises, and at what rate. You can trigger this behavior by hooking up its power input. The ambient lighting needs to be right too, so adjust it with the Lighting Tweaker, which controls the color and strength. Fog can also be controlled here. Set the color of your fog and the amount and how long the transition time is. When players enter the Lighting Tweaker's radius, the Tweaker's settings will take effect for each player differently. Your level's lighting will only change for how that player sees it, not for the others. Music, sound effects, and dialogue in your level can be controlled by the Audio Tweaker. You're able to individually set the volume for each different sound and add a reverb filter if you want. Also, set the amount by which the music, sound effects, or dialogue are filtered. The audio filter can be activated by its trigger zone. So, for example, you can get a brilliant echo in tunnels, tunnels, tunnels. Well, better than that, obviously.
LittleBigPlanet karts now come with Controlinators and Kartinators fitted as standard. The Controlinator allows you to control objects in your level by use of the controller buttons. Motors, lights, sounds, gadgets you created, even your stereo. Attach a Controlinator to multiple music objects to make your own LBPK jukebox. Music to race to. The Kartinator lets you customize how your kart is controlled, so you can put what bells and whistles you use most in closest proximity. We advise disconnecting this facility if you're worried other players might alter your settings, like when someone moves your seat position. Ooh, now that is beyond human endurance, isn't it? And if you want to know what the Controlinator and Kartinator can do when you combine both wonderful devices, then you can find out for yourself by faffing around with it. Sadly, there's still no cup holders as standard in your karts, but one day... In the level editor, you experience hover mode. This is movement in 3D space and is awesome. Use the left stick to do so. To lift yourself up, use the R2 button. The L2 button brings you smoothly down again. Try rotating the camera in the level editor by using left and right on the right stick. That's pretty neat too. Zooming in and out is done with the right stick. Zoom in with the up, zoom out with the down. If you want to tilt the camera to change its angle, hold the L3 button and then move the camera around with the right stick. Cool, isn't it? We all like to make and do, and you can't get any more makier or doier than in LittleBigPlanet. We call the things we create custom objects, and materials are the solidified primordial soup they are made from. You collect materials as you gad about the Imagisphere, and they're automatically saved in your goodies bag. Open your poppet and go to the Materials page. OK, choose a shape, and let's have a faff about with it, shall we? The directional buttons allow you to rescale and rotate the shape, which is handy. You draw by holding down the Action button. The Back button allows you to choose a different-sized brush, whilst the Delete button is the tool to make holes or chip away bits you're not fond of. If you click down the left stick and hold it there, then press the Thickness button, it will increase the thickness. But couple old lefty with the Thinness button, and you can make it thinner. If only waistlines were so user-friendly. Once you're happy, press the Back button to return to your poppet. If in the future you fancy further tweaking, highlight the object with the poppet cursor and press the Tweak button for the tweak menus. Then do what thou willst with the Edit and Action buttons, you gorgeous little perfectionist, you.
A sackboy should always know where his tools bag is. That'd look awesome on a t-shirt because it's so flipping well true. The tools bag is always in your poppet, and in it are the trappings to make your levels ebb and flow with the tides of your amazing imagination. The tools, gadgets, gameplay kit, sounds, and music will add animation and mild peril to your creations. The group tool, for example, allows you to join objects together for easier editing or perfectionist faffing. It's in the tools bag. Situate the cursor over items you wish to group together and press the Selection button to add it to the object group. Objects become highlighted once selected, so you know exactly which ones you're faffing with. If you think you have the entire group selected, press the Action button. And there you have it. You've formed a group. Now they will move in unison. Very handy. The Capture Object tool allows you to save your creations so you can play with them at a later date or share with your fellow LittleBigPlanetians. Select the Capture Object tool from the poppet, choose the object you want to save, then press the Action button. There, saved for future delight in the My Objects page of your goodies bag. To show you the amazingly useful properties of a randomizer, I've invited my friends, the famous variety act, the Bow Tie Pengy Wengy Woos. Their bow ties are on rotate motors, making them go around and around. Amazing, I know, but let's add some variety to their act. We'll add a randomizer, which can be found in the Advanced Logic section of the poppet. Connect the output of the randomizer to the inputs of the motors. Now tweak the randomizer by changing the on and off times to affect how fast it changes. If you set input action to override, you can use an input, that button for this job, to determine when it picks a new output. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Bow Tie Pengy Wengy Woos. Look, their bow ties go around. Oh, good grief, these TV talent shows have a lot to answer for.